Welcome to a new edition of the Daily Debate. I'm your host for tonight, Mohammed Abdurrahim. Washington talks to Cairo. Gulf leaders coordinate with Cairo. Palestinians rely on Cairo. Even the most sensitive discussions, the U.S.-Iran nuclear negotiations, are increasingly shaped by Egyptian positions as everybody talks to Cairo and Cairo talks to everyone. We'll be talking about Egypt's important role, a very important role as the cornerstone of stability and security here in the region, and we'll also be talking closely in this episode about the latest developments regarding the Israeli aggression on Gaza and on the West Bank and occupied East Jerusalem, Al-Quds. Also be talking Lebanon and the so-called ceasefire and the negotiations between the Israelis and the Lebanese, and also Iran, naturally, and the U.S.-Iran negotiations, or stalled negotiations, or ongoing negotiations. We really don't know. We will talk about all of these files here tonight, and we are delighted to have with us here in the studio Mrs. Haanin Hazem Abu Shanab, member of the General Union of the Palestine Women Organization. Haanin, always a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Allow us, please, and allow us, ladies and gentlemen, first to read our top stories of the night. First, as Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli held a press conference following the weekly cabinet meeting in the new capital on Thursday, the Prime Minister said the government had discussed several economic files with the Central Bank of Egypt, the CBE. The Premier illustrated that new tax incentive packages would be offered in the upcoming period, pointing out that about 30% would be added for health and 20% for education within the upcoming year's budget. He asserted that Egypt was working on producing raw materials to be used in medicine industries. Concerning the energy domain, Madbouli said the government had discussed establishing a new data center based on renewable energy and is working on securing the state's needs of electricity during the summertime. The Prime Minister illustrated that global energy prices are still soaring due to the current regional developments, which represent a great challenge to the country. In the meantime, Minister of Foreign Affairs Badr Abdulati met with his Japanese counterpart Toshimitsu Motegi as part of the third round of strategic dialogue talks between the two countries. The two top diplomats exchanged points of views on the regional issues of mutual concern, with Minister Abdulati reviewing Egypt's efforts for containing regional crises through peaceful solutions. The foreign minister said he had agreed with his Japanese counterpart on the importance of reaching an understanding between the United States and Iran through talks to end their conflict. On Gaza, he stressed the significance of moving ahead with the implementation of the U.S. ceasefire plan for Gaza. While on the water file, Minister Abdulati renewed Egypt's rejection of any unilateral measures pertaining to cross-border rivers, including the Nile River. And the United Nations Security Council held a session presided by Pakistan over the latest situation in Syria. The representatives condemned the use of chemical weapons in Syria and called for intensifying efforts to rebuild its infrastructure. The speakers also asserted support for Syria's sovereignty, security and stability, as well as its territorial integrity. Meanwhile, the Syrian representative at the UNSC reiterated his country's national teams had exerted sincere efforts to provide accurate documents over the country's sufferings of chemical weapons at the hands of the ousted regime of Bashar al-Assad during 12 years at all aspects. He added that the damages caused by the previous regime had led to severe destruction in Syria and called on the international community to unify to rebuild his country. With us now live over the phone is Dr. Muhammad Al-Izabi, Professor of International Relations, to give us his views on the fast-moving developments here in our region. Dr. Al-Izabi, good evening. Always a pleasure to have you with us. First, sir, I want to ask you about the U.S.-Iran situation. I mean, do we have negotiations or don't we? Where is this going? Mr. Trump had said that maybe over the weekend the talks would yield results, but the Iranians had said before that the talks are stalled, are not moving. So your input, sir, on the latest regarding U.S.-Iran.
First, good evening to you, Mr. Muhammad, and I have a pleasure to be with you as always to discuss the latest development in the region. Before I start the development of negotiations or what's happening between Iran and the United States, I always want to remind you that I told you that the war between Lebanon and Israel will stop, and we will see soon a meeting between Joseph Aoun and Benjamin Netanyahu with Donald Trump in the United States. And that is what happened today. We wait the meeting for cabinet to sign
yes,
about
the Israeli cabinet, yes.
Yes, to sign on the
ceasefire deal. So Hezbollah, Dr. Azabi, as far as you understand, Hezbollah is now okay with the deal?
Yes, after Big Berry is talking with the United States and talking with Joseph Aoun, and have some conditions to make Hezbollah to stop Israel.
Right.
So, as we say before, that the war between Lebanon and Israel will stop, and the United States succeeded to separate Lebanon from Iran.
Okay, so how will this affect indeed the U.S.-Iran situation? Now remember the phone call between the U.S. President and the Israeli war crime suspect Prime Minister, when Mr. Trump supposedly told him that, you know, you're messing up the situation with Iran by what you're doing in Lebanon. So now that the Lebanese file, as you indicated, seems to be moving you know, towards hopefully, indeed, finally, a peaceful settlement. How will this affect Mr. Trump's position regarding Iran?
About Iran and Mr. Trump, we must put some to underline about the decision of the U.S. House, which vote to strike war powers.
Yes.
The U.S. House of Representatives has passed a resolution seeking to limit President Donald Trump's authority to continue military operation against Iran without congressional approval. It will make Iran raise their conditions. They will say they will have a great victory against the United States. Yeah. And by what will happen from Iran, we will saw the war come back again between United States and Iran. This decision from the U.S. House of Representatives will lead to return to the war again. This decision also largely symbolic and still requiring additional legislative steps. The vote reflects growing bipartisan concerns regarding prolonged military engagement with Iran.
Right.
The congressional move sends an important signal to Tehran, a significant segment of the U.S. political establishment favor diplomacy over escalation.
Okay.
Pressure is increasing on the administration to pursue a negotiated settlement.
Yeah, so sir, you don't believe that over the weekend we will have any type of agreement over this weekend or the following weekend or the weekend in 2 weeks' time or next month's weekend or next year's weekend? I mean, it's obvious that you believe that the war will be back again between the U.S. and Israel from one side and Iran from the other, despite the fact that the Lebanese file seems to be, you know, wrapping up. All right, that was the call for Al-Asha prayer, and we're back now to the daily debate. And as the region navigates one of its most volatile chapters, one capital, Cairo, has consistently positioned itself as the anchor of peace, security and stability. We'll be watching a report about that now, and when we come back we will discuss with our dear distinguished guest, Mrs. Haanin Hazem Abu Shanab, the member of the General Union of the Palestine Women Organization, that and also the situation in occupied Palestine and also other developments. Please stay with us, Ms. Haanin and dear viewers.
Egypt is intensifying its diplomatic engagement across multiple regional crises, positioning itself as a central mediator between Washington, Tehran, and key Arab capitals. This week, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi met with a delegation from the Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations. He also discussed over phone with French President Emmanuel Macron efforts aimed at reaching a just and comprehensive solution of the Palestinian question, the crisis in Lebanon, and Egypt's intensive contacts with the various parties concerned to ensure the success of endeavors to reach a comprehensive agreement between the United States and Iran. On the diplomatic level, Foreign Minister Badr Abdelghati held separate phone calls this week with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. Discussions focused on the latest developments in U.S.-Iran nuclear negotiations, with Egypt reaffirming its support for a diplomatic breakthrough capable of easing regional tensions. Cairo has also been coordinating closely with Gulf partners. Minister Abdelghati spoke with Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan and Qatari Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani as part of broader efforts to prevent uncalculated escalation that could undermine regional stability. On the Gaza front, Egypt continues to push for advancing the ceasefire and is working very hard with Qatari and American mediators to revive the truce proposal. Egypt has deepened its mediation role beyond Gaza, actively participating in an Arab Islamic quartet alongside Pakistan, Saudi Arabia and Turkey, a framework aimed at increasing regional autonomy in crisis management. And on Lebanon's front, Egypt strongly condemned the ongoing Israeli military escalation on Lebanese territory, noting that the airstrikes targeting southern Lebanon, which have resulted in deaths and casualties, including women and children, constitute a flagrant violation of state sovereignty and international law. Egypt's demarches from a comprehensive approach which views the regions worsening Gaza, Lebanon and Syria, as well as the U.S.-Iranian tensions as symptoms of a single underlying disease, the continuation of occupation and the absence of a solution to the Palestinian question. As the region navigates one of its most volatile chapters, one capital has consistently positioned itself as the anchor of stability. Cairo, which works tirelessly to contain crises, bridge divides and prevent wider conflagration. Egypt is carrying a message which has been unwavering: de-escalation, dialogue, and diplomatic solutions.
Thank you, Abir Hussein, for this report. We're back here with Mrs. Haanin Hazem Abu Shanab, the member of the General Union of Palestine Women Organization. Haanin, Egypt naturally is a central mediator, trusted by everybody, talks to everybody, a cornerstone of peace, security and stability here in the region. In your opinion, what are the indeed unique assets that Cairo possesses that allows it to play this very important role?
Absolutely. Of course, the role of the Egyptian presence has always been towards peacemaking and making sure that the whole of the region is actually stable, the national security, if not just the Egyptian statehood, but also of the neighboring countries as well, to remain intact. Maybe the geographical position is one factor, of course, but not just that. We've seen how wise the leadership is, of course, by the President, Mr. Abdel Fattah Sisi, and his background and his special and unique method of communication, and yeah, you know how he's engaging everyone. He's not just following a certain approach, but he's using a hybrid of multiple approaches, different schools of leading not just a country but the whole of the organization, considering Egypt as a whole as an organization, but on all levels, of course. He knows how to speak to the leaders, he knows how to speak to the people, he knows how to speak to his internal people and to the external people as a whole, of course. We've seen him on multiple occasions pulling and bringing the different leaders of the world, those who are powerful enough to influence by the least the decision-making on the global scale, bringing them to the Egyptian country, to the streets. We've seen Mr. Macron running in the streets once in, you know, we've just seen him in Alexandria. Exactly. Yeah. So he's brought him to the most local spaces and streets of the Egyptian ancient and historic presence, just to let the world know that Egypt is very historic. The ancient presence and the ancient leadership and pioneering is not just something that we speak about, it's actually present and we see it. It's not just propaganda. So multiple factors actually contribute to the important and very substantial actually role that Egypt has been playing over the years. It's not just in the recent times, but also throughout the history of recent or modern history, actually.
Haanin, Egypt continues to warn day in and day out that international attention must not be diverted from Gaza because of the Iran file. How do you see Egypt's warning?
Absolutely well put, actually. So the whole purpose, actually, of the Iranian warfare, or what's happening, is to basically divert the attention on from the Palestinian cause as a whole, not just in the Gaza Strip. So Egypt is very wise and keeps the focus on the actual target, or the main target. We do not neglect, of course, anyone, but let's not be diverted by the agenda of the enemy. They keep refocusing and bringing back of course, the attention of the whole global community, not just the region only, but bringing back the attention to what's actually the main or the primary goal of the Israeli and, of course, the American agenda. So they very much stood fast against any dislocation or any displacement of the Palestinian people from the Gaza Strip, and they're standing very firmly also in what's happening in the West Bank and in terms of annexation, and they stood very firmly, of course, against the law that the Knesset unfortunately had actually approved on the execution of the prisoners, of the Palestinian prisoners, of course. So the stance of the Egyptian diplomacy and political approaches have been strongly present throughout history, and of course within the recent genocide on the Gaza Strip and the horrific aggression on the West Bank and Palestinians worldwide, actually.
Haanin, could you update us on the latest on the humanitarian situation in Gaza at the moment? Again, because there is a sense that things have improved, yes, but very slightly.
Yes.
From October 25 until now. Very, very slightly. That's the impression.
Like you said, it's a slight improvement. The borders are still under very strict limitations, or whether it's security limitations, whether endless inspections.
Because of the Israeli
of course,
practices.
They're controlling the in and out, they're controlling what's not theirs to control. This is Egyptian sovereignty over their borders and over their country, and what they do. They're actually sticking their heads and they're sticking their conditions and limitations everywhere they can, violating any law. They're not really respecting anything, actually. So Egypt still pushes back, and does what they promised to continue doing, standing by their brothers and sisters of Palestine. They keep on providing and of course mediating and helping with the logistics of the transfer of whatever is being provided by the international. But of course it's not just the international community, but majority of what's being provided to the Gazans is actually prepared and
right.
and يعني at least is managed by the Egyptian people. So that still remains against any opposition or any limitations that the Israelis try to
But what's actually reaching the Palestinians in Gaza?
It's very little.
Yeah.
It's not actually in comparison with what's being needed actually. Whether in food, whether in water, whether in medical supplies, whether in reconstruction. Of course, we spoke about the ceasefire. It's very fragile. They have not they didn't stick to anything of it.
Well, hundreds of Palestinians have already been killed since the ceasefire.
Exactly. Just today there was multiple actually
11 if I remember, if I recall.
Exactly, so they did not stop for
civilians.
A single minute. Civilians, mainly civilians, of course the whole population is civilians. And they're mainly targeting women and children. Not just children, infants actually, and embryos and their mothers' wombs. So they want to reduce the population by great numbers. We're speaking currently of around 73,000 martyrs,
right.
over 173 injured. These are the formal or the يعني finalized numbers. But again, what's not been counted, I believe, is again very saddening actually.
And what's very scary really is that the 73,000 plus martyrs and the 173 plus injured, many of them have been amputated or
so again,
paralyzed.
Not really living.
That's more than 10% of Gaza's population. So in a country, say like the US, that would be 30 or 40 million. I mean, this is scary. And that's genocide in its clearest form. What do you think will happen, by the way, in the Israeli election? Will the war crime suspect Prime Minister of Israel be re-elected again, or do you think he will fall? What do you think?
Honestly, I can't really tell by the shift in the powers on what's happening in the region and not just the Israeli internal situation. Of course, Trump is backing him up strongly, and we've seen this by the stalling of the communication or the negotiations, whether in the Palestinian matter or the Iranian or the Lebanese actually. So they're creating more distractions, they're creating more diversion of the topic because they want to stall more, they want to prolong the presence, they want to increase the benefits, the personal benefits that they both can actually yield and gain. So how will it actually be directed, or how it will be presented to the world? It depends on the number of the gains and the quality of the gains that they will eventually obtain. Eventually it could be that this is a small bargain, or it's a small loss versus the massive gains that they've actually acquired. The powers are shifting. It's a bit early, in my eyes, for a conclusion to be drawn just now. But again, let me just highlight something. It's not just genocide. It's systematic ethnic cleansing. What's happening, whether in the Gaza Strip or the West Bank, is systematic since day one. They know what they're doing, and no matter how they maneuver the legal presence, it remains in a sense ethnic cleansing. They know what they're doing, they know what to target, and they know how to play around the laws. And
do you get the sense, Haanin, that the ceasefire of the Israeli way is like, I'm not going to lose anything, but at the same time, I'm not going to kill as much people as I used to. I'm just going to use 20, let's say, 10 or 20% of my force. I'm just going to kill 10 or 20% of the people I used to kill, but I'm very safe now. I'm not going to be touched. I'm not going to be harmed. Do you get the sense that this is what's happening really?
Yes, absolutely.
In Gaza?
They managed to protect themselves, or the
totally.
Absolutely, of course. But
and we're going to kill less Palestinians.
Less Palestinians, just to avoid any any yelling from the big bosses
and the global community at large.
Exactly, but it's all about continuing the aggression. It's all about continuing the massive massacres, it hasn't stopped, no matter how they reform it or reshape it or represent it.
So they've breached the ceasefire that way, they've breached it in obstructing humanitarian aid, and also they've breached it, now they have plans to expand to over, to control 70% of Gaza? Is that what
yes,
we
and
understand?
they're expanding as well in the West Bank. Under, again, like, it's a maneuver over what the law is prohibiting them from doing, let's assume that actually they stick to or they abide with any prohibition that actually takes place. They do not, of course, listen to anyone, they do not abide, they do not comply with whatever, but they maneuver the presence. So they're using the gray area of this area under the categorization of C. Just recently, Smotrich has actually approved the housing for the settlers of around 2,162 new houses. So again, you're saying that no, we're stopping, but again, it gave the green light and formal approval for more houses for the settlers to go and build over Palestinian land, over actually, it's very humiliating what's happening. They wanted to create some entertainment presence over the Palestinian graveyard. Zero respect to not just life but also death. So nothing actually stops them from anything. They violate endless.
So actually, on the ground, they are annexing the West Bank.
Exactly.
They're saying it's not an annexation,
but they're actually practicing
they are
practicing it. Yes.
So please give us more details about what's happening in the West Bank, because we also forget the West Bank. I mean, the millions who are in the West Bank are also suffering hugely, losing their homes, having their homes,
demolished. Yeah,
the settlers, the attacks by the illegal settlers.
Yes.
I mean, every other day you have settlers killing or injuring Palestinians or destroying their properties or...
Absolutely. There are no civilians in the West Bank. I mean, the settlers, they are no longer civilians. They all have guns, regardless of how advanced the gun is, or they call it self-defense. You are the aggressor, actually, not the defender. So everyone is actually permitted to kill. They do not need any they do not
license.
Absolutely not. It's just
they actually do have the license from Bin Kfir.
Absolutely. And to put the Palestinians under humiliation and under aggression by all definitions, they actually force the Palestinians to demolish their houses by themselves. And they go to the lands and they actually hand them the axes and they tell them, this is your trees, please pull them down, put them down. And destruct your land. So it's very destructive what they're doing. It's a war on all definitions and on all levels: psychological, biological, economical, political, and military, of course. So they do not spare any chance to destruct or any chance to obstruct any peacemaking. They haven't stuck to any agreement.
The two-state solution. It's been a while. Since we've last heard about the two-state solution, the Iran file, and other stuff is really overshadowing. Do you see any path for a future two-state solution indeed? And for that to happen, what's needed here? I mean, you don't have a partner. The Netanyahu, the rightists, the extremists, they're not partners, are they? I mean, could you in the future have a partner in Israel, or has also the Israeli society at large changed drastically after October 7th?
Of course, they did change, and I don't know, the powers are changing, and of course evil has its own supporters, but eventually this power of destruction will come to an end. So currently, we do not have any partners to enable such peacemaking or to enable such co-living, as we've all heard them say or call for. But the two-state solution will come to a reality. Maybe not soon, but it will come eventually.
It's backed by the entire international community.
Absolutely. So it will be, but not now, until the environment and the factors and the contributors.
And even the White House. I mean, one day there will be a president in the White House that will strongly back.
Absolutely.
You believe that?
Absolutely. It's not just the regional players.
I mean, it's a logical prediction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this day will come. The duration of such two-state presence is not really long in its natural definition, but it will be there. And unfortunately, that will be the end of, of the world, maybe. Because such aggression and such illegal presence and such illegal founding, actually, over the Palestinian land, they're stealing history, they're stealing presence, and they're trying to steal the future as well. This is what they're doing. But you cannot change what's real. You cannot change the facts. You cannot change the truth, no matter how hard they try and actually invest and try to buy the media, the influence, of course, everything, what we're seeing. But you cannot change that for too long. What we're seeing currently as well, the supporters are running out of breath, actually. The supporters of Israel and the U.S. Even the U.S. itself is running out of resources.
I mean, listen, Mr. Trump, I mean, he, in the leaks that we got from that phone call, I believe he told Netanyahu, everybody hates you and everybody hates Israel.
Yes.
I mean, so he realizes.
He is fed up.
He does realize that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even when the Gaza ceasefire deal was reached, if you remember, Haanin, Trump told Netanyahu that he's doing this for Israel's best interest, because now everybody in the world is against Israel, and Israel cannot be against the entire world.
Of course.
He had said something like that.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, absolutely. They cannot fight
so
the
even
whole
Trump
world.
realizes
yes,
that.
absolutely. So this is why the shift in powers and the shift in the negotiation terms is changing, actually, because they want to maximize the gains with reducing whatever losses they're losing. But eventually
their day will come.
A day will come, of course, and everyone will be fed up with what's happening, because they've been supporting, they've been covering up for it, but enough is enough. So a day will come where the supporters and the allies of this evil presence will say, no, enough, I cannot support this anymore. Regardless of the motives, it could be that their people are no longer happy with what they're happening. It could be that their consciousness has woken up, or it could be that the change of the leadership, and it's something more familiar or more humanitarian or more fair, and listening to what the people have been saying over centuries, not just recently. And the awareness and the increase in the consciousness, actually, of the world, not just certain countries, is raising, and it's rising, and the number of supporters of the Palestinian cause, not just because of the Palestinians, but because everyone is calling for peace, for humanity, and people are seeing the
because
the contradictions.
It's a just cause.
It is. It
to
is.
every just person.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this contradiction cannot actually stand for too long. People are seeing the facts. People are seeing for themselves that what's being said on the media is different to what's been happening over the years on ground, and everyone is seeing it. This is the most documented ethnic cleansing. This is the most documented genocide that's been happening, regardless of the attempts to erase and delete all evidence.
You know, when you said that, I just remembered, like, look at South Africa's position, for instance, because they are ones who really suffered under apartheid. So they know, they feel for the Palestinians, because they know that these people, like them have faced huge injustices and oppression. Also, not look at a country like Spain, which seemed really, I mean, a noble position, really. And what if the day comes? I'm sure it will come. I don't know if we will see it though. But when justice is restored, I mean, I think we will never forget those who stood
absolutely,
with us.
Absolutely. We have a statue of Nelson Mandela in Ramallah, just to symbolize and restate, or actually to keep everyone remembering those who fought for freedom, and those who fight for freedom and for justice. They are eternal, whether their bodies have left this world, but they are eternal in presence and in concept and in mindset. So this will remain. Again, Zionism has been founded in disguise under the ideology of undercovering or following, actually, behind the protection of the Judaism. But again, Judaism is very far away of what the Zionists are is doing. Because this is why we see Jews and rabbis standing by the Palestinian, because what's
yeah,
happening.
And look at them in New York, for instance. I mean,
of course,
they were really
the largest prisons,
yeah.
actually, and they are completely against what's happening
Yes.
in Israel.
Yeah.
So the foundation
and this is very cherished and respected.
Absolutely,
and,
absolutely. So all religions are actually against what's happening, against what the agenda is following. So they use their religion to cover, or as a means for protection. But again, all religions are yeah, very pure of this injustice. And
thank you for your words. I mean, you gave us hope as well. I mean, we all, one day Palestine will be free,
inshallah.
Inshallah. And in the meantime, still more steadfastness, more patience, more. But the Palestinians have been through this for
too long.
Yeah.
For too long.
Yeah.
It will pay off.
But it will.
It will pay off.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
And thank you very much, Mrs. Haanin Hazem Abu Shanab, a member of the General Union of the Palestine Women Organization. Always a pleasure having you.
Always
and hope to see you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the Daily Debate. Please stay with Nile TV.